I don't think how customers are finding the businesses is changing too much other than the use of AI and people maybe defaulting to Chat GPT to find a local plumber, for example. A lot of everything else is staying the same in terms of usage on Instagram and YouTube and Google search, email campaigns, and so on and so forth. I'd say the biggest thing within the last year, but also every week, every month, is the incorporation of AI, not so much in how people are using it to find businesses, but how people and businesses are using it in everyday life, whether it's editing a video or doing a search or creating a graphic or getting a prompt for a new blog, whatever the case might be.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome back to another episode. With us today is the CEO and founder of Momentum Digital, Mac Frederick. Mac is a former Google employee turned entrepreneur who turned Momentum Digital into empowering small businesses through digital marketing. Mac, so excited to have you on today. How you doing?
Chris, I'm great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, absolutely, Mac. We like to ask all of our entrepreneurs, tell us about your journey. Yours seems pretty incredible, but what were you doing before that kind of led you into starting where you're at today?
Boy, man, how long you got?
Minutes, I guess.
I'll give you the cliff notes of it. So my dad was a business owner and entrepreneur, and I always kind of had that in my blood. And growing up, baseball cards and all that. I went to college at Penn State, started studying. There was an entrepreneurship minor, so took those classes, and I have a lot of good stories from them, but started my first and second and third businesses in college, usually with business partners. And some of them did pretty well. I kept one, which was a cell phone repair business throughout college. And then everywhere I went after college, I'd continue to do that, which is a whole other story. But once I graduated, I felt like I should join the market and got a job with Google, which was the only job I wanted. So I was a Google Ads consultant on their small business team for about a year and a half, and got a little complacent with the 40-hour work week. So started doing a little side hustle here and there because I was fixing electronics and started that business on the side. And then I realized a big gap in the market with my small business clients needing help with search engine optimization or websites. So I started consulting on the side and started my own agency, which lo and behold, Google found out after a few months and pretty much fired me on the spot. And that pretty much forced me to go all in. And so I was living in Michigan at the time and it was freezing cold there. So I moved to where I had friends and family in Philadelphia and pretty much started both companies from scratch, the marketing agency. And then I still to this day have an electronics repair company with 4 retail locations, which I'm actually in the process of trying to sell. So that's where I am today. And that's my story.
That is an incredible journey. It sounds like through all that experience, you were just taking advantage of opportunities. You're like, okay, where are the gaps in the market? People need this. Let me offer this as a service.
Yeah, I think some people have like an inner desire and like an internal engine and hunger about them. Like some have it, some don't. And I was just the type where if I realized different ways that I could make money, which I think is more popular nowadays instead of 15 years ago when I was in college, I would just see opportunities and I would get fixated on it and, figured out how to start a business or how to make a website or how to do social media or get more exposure locally, and just kind of taught myself a lot about business and marketing and entrepreneurship, because it's either you kind of teach yourself or you learn from a mentor or you learn from some sort of MBA or class.
Right, absolutely. And through all that experience and now that you've been helping people, you're obviously very in tuned into the market. Are most small businesses struggling with pretty much very similar things as they were 5, 10, 15 years ago? Or has the game changed a bit where you're now, kind of changing the structure of your core offer or how you're helping them?
Well, I've noticed a few things. Small businesses make up 99% of the business market. There's literally millions of them across the world, over 1 million small businesses in America alone. And they're the ones who need marketing the most because they understand it the least and they have less resources actually in terms of time, money, and general knowledge. And part of what we do is educational and consulting, like teaching them about what they need and how we're alleviating those problems. But in terms of like bigger changes, compared to 10 years ago, there's a much bigger focus on social media, video content, and now AI. But small business owners in general, I think have had a hard time grasping what internet marketing is and how it's going to benefit them. I think now they know they need it more than ever. I think it's like a prerequisite to being successful. But there's a lot of different moving parts and pieces to it. But there's also a lot more resources and education. Like you can go on YouTube and find a video to teach yourself how to do just about anything in this day and age, which is really cool. It's just, do you have the time or do you have the money? Because if you have the money, you can pay an agency. If you have the time and not the money, figure out how to do it yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And for a lot of businesses, yeah, they're struggling with either time or money. So it's like, do you want to make that decision? Are you okay learning and executing this yourself? Or do you want to pay someone to do it for you? And what are you finding from most of these businesses? Do they prefer to learn and be consulted? I almost feel like they end up just saying, you know what, we're in over our head. Can we just pay you to do it? Or is it the opposite?
It's a good question. What I would say is if they're a really small business and they come to us for help with marketing, we'll try to create a proposal for them and, try to keep it within a reasonable budget. Let's call it as small as like $500 per month. And a lot of small businesses even balk at that and turn that down because they're like, hey, I can figure this out myself. Or in this day and age, the economical value of finding somebody overseas who can do it cheaper is always an option because they could go to somebody in India, Pakistan, Philippines to do it for half the price or less. But then there's the whole language barrier, there's the time barrier, and there's the do they really care about my business barrier.
Yes.
So lo and behold, a lot of those clients who try to do it themselves, a couple weeks or months later, come back to us, or if they hire somebody overseas, a couple weeks or months later, they'll come back to us.
Absolutely. And I think all of the things you mentioned are extremely important on why they come back. But I also feel like a big missing piece is that strategy. Once they're like, okay, I think I know what to do. And then I feel like they just get lost or confuse themselves because they're not confident on the strategy, which is what you bring to the table. So you can execute with more confidence. Whereas they're like, I don't know if I should go this direction. Should I do it? And that ends up just causing a longer time delay for them.
I know. And there are a lot of clients that some need their hand held continuously. And there's others that are fully hands off where it's like, as long as their phone is ringing for new customers, they don't really care about all the X's and O's and what's going on, which I understand. In some aspect of your business, you kind of need to be relevant in understanding what's going on that's helping your business thrive. But there's other business owners where you might need to tell them 3 times because they're like, what are we doing for this? And you're like, well, we told you twice. But you kind of have to understand where they're coming from because they have so many different things going on at once that things can get lost in the shuffle.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the beauty of, being able to work with someone like you. You can provide those, healthy reminders. Let's follow up. You can explain and educate them on, why what we're doing is working, why it's making the phone call happen for you. And yeah, it's just kind of like meeting them where they're interested because you don't want to create these weekly or monthly reports that they don't even care to look at as long as their phone is ringing.
Yeah. And we're not necessarily like a consulting company because usually consultants don't do any implementation or fulfillment. We try to bridge that with an entry level to consulting, explaining what we're going to do and why we're going to do it and how it's affecting the results and performance. But we don't do a huge deep dive, especially for small business owners that can't afford a huge research and consulting component to a client agency relationship, because that can take a lot of time and resources doing research, finding data, doing competitive results and comparisons, things of that nature. But we do enough to provide them with an adequate level of understanding to the tangible aspects of their business when it comes to marketing.
Absolutely. Are there like qualities of ideal clients that best suit you? Because I'm sure with working just different types, maybe you've honed in on, hey, this is where we communicate our best or we get best results here. Or you kind of like the everyday, as long as you're a local service or any business, you can help them out.
So we don't have a niche just yet. I'd say 80% of our clients are local service businesses, which is a very broad range of different types of clientele. I mean, you've got roofing, dentists, HVAC, plumber, construction, real estate, you name it, local service businesses is a wide category. But we also don't do a ton of our own outreach, cold calling, advertising, anything. It's mostly inbound through SEO, YouTube, referrals, networking. But to further that point, the clients we want to work with at least have a decent enough budget to be able to afford marketing and understand what you put in, you get back out, which is also important for having a relationship with them and getting two sides of the equation, meaning, are you giving us feedback? Are you telling us about how things are going with your business and who you're targeting and what services you want to be providing if you have new promotions running and so on and so forth?
Absolutely. And what are some of the trends and changes that you've seen in marketing? Because obviously, it used to be each year, every 5 years, it would change a bit. Now it seems like every month to week, something's a little bit different, or we have to just be mindful of. Has that kind of changed your strategy or how you execute or recommend services to other clients as well?
It's a great question. I don't think how customers are finding the businesses is changing too much other than the use of AI and people maybe defaulting to Chat GPT to find a local plumber, for example. A lot of everything else is staying the same in terms of usage on Instagram and YouTube and Google search, email campaigns, and so on and so forth. I'd say the biggest thing within the last year, but also every week, every month, is the incorporation of AI, not so much in how people are using it to find businesses, but how people in businesses are using it in everyday life, whether it's editing a video or doing a search or creating a graphic or getting a prompt for a new blog, whatever the case might be. I think AI is going to be kind of a necessity and a common denominator for most businesses and most consumers.
Absolutely. And now with that change, it becomes a part of their buyer's journey. That is how they're doing research and, informing themselves to make decisions. ChatGPT, when I had was my wedding DJ business, we received two clients who say they found us on ChatGPT. They gave us what their query was. They said, who's a highly rated wedding DJ in Milwaukee? And my company came up. They consulted and booked with me. So that's just one example of how kind of that focus on local SEO has changed into search LLMs and how you can place higher and become kind of like, a trusted authority just from typical SEO practices. So, it works. It's a win. And I'm sure your clients can experience that too. Plumbers, dentists, all the other services as well.
Yeah, and it's tough to just optimize something for ChatGPT, for example. It's not like they have their own built-in search engine where you can make tweaks in ChatGPT. It really starts from your brand itself, and the home base of your brand in the eyes of ChatGPT would be your website and where else your business is listed online that provides valuable and accurate information. So I think people need to do a better job with their website in terms of being human and answering questions that people have and solving problems and getting straight to the point.
Absolutely. I feel like it's a solid strategy for any business because then you're focusing on the customer's problem and how can you solve it, and now you're creating content to help solve that, and now you're showing up in results, and that seems to be the biggest success that you've had. You're not doing the outbound, the cold calling. You're putting the content out there and letting that be your driver, so it's more inbound strategy.
Exactly. Yep. Percent.
And is that going to be your strategy going forward? Has that been pretty solid? Would you recommend that to other agencies or, B2B businesses?
I think it needs to be a collective, cohesive strategy with content across the board that gets that contextual messaging into those AI engines. Like, for example, there's so many different places that you can be relevant and consistent online other than your website. You have your Google business profile, you have a Yelp profile, you have Bing, you have YouTube, you have LinkedIn, you have all the social media profiles, you even have Reddit and Quora and, these digital forums where you could be active. I think collective messaging and cohesive content is something important. And, video is going to be taking a good chunk of that too now too.
Absolutely. And Mac, I was curious, where can people find you and connect with you online?
Google me and Google my company name. You'll find everything you need. We are a Google partner. We are known for anything Google related to help businesses, whether it's their Google business profile, search engine optimization, Google ads and analytics, which is now tying into AI results. So if you just Google Mac Frederick or Google Momentum Digital, all of our profiles will come up.
That is fantastic. Now, normally we would leave links available down in the show notes and the description, but maybe we'll just put the link to a Google search query for you. So it
That'd be cool.
kind of has a similar effect.
Like that.
Wonderful. Now, Mac, so we're in the first month of 2026 now. You've had some great success already. What are you kind of gearing up for in 2026? Are you launching anything new? Or are you be trying anything different? Or are you just kind of growing and scaling everything that's been working so far?
Growing and scaling, but I think everybody gets so focused on these new waves of technology, AI or video automation or software, that they forget about the human aspect of business that'll never go away. And I think what's important for us to sign some really big clients and have really large retainers is that human relationship and focusing on partnerships and networking and events, because people buy from people. At the end of the day, AI can lead you in one direction, but if you call that person and they're an asshole, you're not going to want to do business with them.
Right, absolutely. And then as far as 2026 goals, we have those nailed in. Wanted to ask more about your past with like mentorship. I'm sure there have been people who have influenced you or have kind of encouraged you to go further, do a little bit more. Are there any shout outs you want to give to your past mentors who have been influential to you?
Sure. I mean, more than anybody, I'd say just my dad. Like, it's not like he was teaching me how to start and run a business or anything, but I saw and observed his work ethic and how he treated people. And what you see sometimes is more important than what you hear in life. And so I think that was pretty important for me. And then there's been other people along the way that I've reached out to for guidance and questions that I've had. But yeah, that's what I would say.
That is fantastic. Now, Mac, we only have a couple more minutes, but we usually like to have like an open format towards the end. If there anything we haven't covered yet, or maybe a piece of advice for other entrepreneurs or business owners out there, just kind of like a final last thought that you want to share with everyone.
A lot of my conversations are about Google, having worked at Google. I think advertising is getting more and more expensive and is sometimes a necessary evil. But I think people need to understand the shift in consumer behavior as to where people are finding who to hire, especially when it comes to local service businesses. Big shout out to the companies that are doing really well organically on social, because that is a hard bridge to build, because creativity is the key. And as well as my companies are doing on social media, there's companies that are way better than us. Not so many in the digital marketing space, but like if you're absolutely crushing it on social media, all the other things are less important. Like, let's say you sell wedding dresses, right? And you're just dominating on Instagram Reels and TikToks. I understand that you don't need to spend a lot of time or money on your website or search engine optimization or Google ads for that matter. So I think everybody needs to understand how their customers are finding them and where their strengths are when it comes to what they could do with digital marketing. Because once that money starts pouring in, then you have that profit to reinvest into other aspects of your business. So if you're dominating organically on Instagram, now you've built up some capital to where you could diversify your marketing while continuing to be successful on Instagram. But now you could run YouTube ads and build a better website or have like an application or whatever the case might be. So leverage your strengths first and then reinvest profits to diversify your marketing ecosystem.
That is some great advice, because I do agree. A lot of people have success in one channel or another. And I don't think people think about the long-term effects. Should that platform shut down? Should they lose that dominance in that search area? Like you said, take that profit, reinvest it, just so you can diversify all of those assets. Do you generally recommend diversification within the channels and efforts when you're working with a business? Do you kind of test a little bit of everything, or do you say, hey, you know what, this is what has worked before, we'll just kind of go heavier into this piece?
Some people don't know what they don't know, especially business owners. Like, they just want you to tell them what's going to work and like take my money and like make sure I get good results. But at the same time, it goes back to that resource equation of time and money. People only have so much time. People only have so much money. It's like, at the end of the day, I can tell you what you need, which in most cases is everything, but your budget is $500 or you haven't even told me you have a budget. So it's like, I suggest all these things because most businesses need it. And at the end of the day, like, this could cost $10,000 a month, but here you have a small business generating $10,000 a month in revenue. This doesn't make sense. So you got to pick and choose your battles. And some businesses are going to be more successful in other aspects of marketing and advertising, but you might market a wedding dress company different than you're going to market a local plumber. A local plumber needs to be dominating at the top of Google local results. A wedding dress company might need to be more significant in terms of their social media reach. But in terms of diversification, you're seeing it a lot more. Like, I'll give you a great example. An Instagram influencer. Let's say it's a good looking female that historically makes her income from, promoting wedding dresses and like having it and linking it in the bio and this and that. Well, maybe she's not getting the organic reach that she used to because other people are coming out. The algorithm's changing a little bit. What you're seeing a lot of these influencers do, and you'll pay attention to it, is they're realizing how much money they could be making on YouTube. So now they're creating a YouTube channel and making their short form content into YouTube Shorts, and then working with a video person to make long form content. Oh, here was my trip to Ibiza, or here's me shoe shopping at the local mall, whatever. And then they're monetizing it because they're siphoning their followers from YouTube. Oh, here's a story with a link to my recent YouTube video. Please subscribe. And now in a couple months or years from now, I mean, they're going to be making a decent chunk of change from AdSense, from YouTube revenue.
That is fascinating. And it's interesting to see that pivot. I feel like they're just seeing another opportunity as well and saying, you know what, hey, if this is the direction we need to go, I feel like, hey, let's try it. Let's give it a shot. I think we're all just taking calculated risks out there and seeing what's going to pop off for us.
It's a more respectable approach than OnlyFans.
Yeah, right. But hey, you know what? $50 is $50, just tease it. But Mac, it's been fantastic. Obviously all the success you've had, you're building up a great business. You're building up other businesses for them. So excited. Thank you again for coming on and sharing your tips, tricks, and wisdom with us.
Yeah. Last thing I'll leave you with is, if anybody's listening who's like a freelance marketing professional who like wants to be their own boss and run their own agency, that's something we cater to, because the hardest thing about being a freelance marketing professional is getting the clients. And that's where we come in. If you're really good at Google Ads or SEO or web design, but have trouble getting your own clients, join Momentum, partner up. We'll bring the clients to you and keep that money rolling.
That is fantastic. That sounds wonderful. And we'll make sure to link all those resources available down in the show notes and the description. Mac, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Chris, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.